Good evening and a very warm welcome to the KDF Weekly Bulletin. I am Senior Private Jeff Mwangi. The Bulletin is your trusted source for weekly updates on defense activities, from operational highlights to the latest developments at the Ministry of Defense. Here are our top stories for tonight. Chief of the Defense Forces attends change of command at AFRICOM headquarters. Defense Principal Secretary inspects new Kenya Defense Forces houses in Roysambu. Vice Chief of the Defense Forces presides over the 70th Kenya Ordnance Factory Company Board of Directors meeting in Eldoret. Launch of the East African Community Exercise Ushirikiano Imara 2026 Concept Development Conference. KDF Awesome Troops conduct medical camp in Kismayo. On to our first story tonight. The Defense Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Soipan Tuya, hosted the newly appointed United Nations Women Kenya Country Representative, Antonia Ngabala Sodonon, at the Defense Headquarters. The two witnessed the signing of a project document for the third call of the LC Initiative Fund, which supports the participation of uniformed women in peace operations.
Through the International Peace Support Training Center, the fund will help Kenya Defense Forces develop interventions that enhance women deployment in international missions and strengthen Kenya's contribution to global peace and security in line with the Ministry of Defense gender policy. United Nations Women has for years supported gender training and knowledge development at the center. The Cabinet Secretary welcomed ongoing discussions to relocate the organization's global headquarters to Nairobi and said the Ministry of Defense looks forward to closer cooperation in peace building, humanitarian support, and gender-focused security programs.
General Charles Kahariri, the Chief of the Defense Forces, attended the United States Africa Command US AFRICOM change of command ceremony at AFRICOM headquarters in Stuttgart, Germany. Our reporter has more on this story.
The event marked the handover of command from General Michael Langley to General Dagvin Anderson. It was presided over by Admiral Christopher Grady, Vice Chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff. Admiral Grady praised General Langley's 4 decades of service, including his role in institutionalizing the African Chiefs of Defense Conference co-hosted with Kenya earlier this year. General Anderson pledged to strengthen partnerships and continue advancing regional stability across Africa.
On to matters welfare, Dr. Patrick Mariru, the Principal Secretary for Defense, inspected the ongoing construction of new Kenya Defense Forces Housing Estate in Roysambu, Nairobi County.
The 500-unit project is part of the first phase of Ministry of Defense housing program aimed at bridging accommodation gaps within the Kenya Defense Forces. The estate, which is 93% complete, consists of 26 blocks with both single and married quarters. The Roysambu project is part of a nationwide plan to deliver more than 3,000 units through a public-private partnership, with a second phase targeting 10,000 additional houses across Embakasi, Kahawa, and Langata garrisons.
Moving on, Lieutenant General John Omenda, the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces, chaired the 70th Board of Directors meeting of the Kenya Ordnance Factories Corporation in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
The two-day meeting brought together senior Kenya Defense Forces leaders, including the Commander Kenya Army, Lieutenant General David Keter, Commander Kenya Air Force, Major General Bernard Waliaula, Commander Kenya Navy, Major General Paul Otieno, and the Defense National Security Industries Director, Major General Faustino Lobali. Lieutenant General Omenda praised the Managing Director, Major General George Okumu, and his team for producing high-quality defense products and supporting local community development through corporate social responsibility initiatives. During his visit, the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces also inspected projects at 9th Battalion Kenya Rifles and the Defense Forces Recruits Training School, expressing satisfaction with welfare and infrastructure improvements ahead of the Kenya Defense Forces Day.
Major General John Nkoimo, the General Officer commanding Central Command, joined senior military officers and delegates from East African Community Partner States for the official launch of a 3-day concept development conference for the 14th East African Community Armed Forces Command Post-Exercise Ushirikiano Imara 2026 at the Humanitarian Peace Support School in Embakasi, Nairobi. The forum, which brought together the Defense Forces, police, civilian representatives, and key stakeholders from the East African Community Partner States, commenced on the 18th of August 2025 and concluded on the 20th of August 2025.
Delegates collaborated to develop strategies that will strengthen regional capacity to jointly respond to emerging security challenges. Discussions focused on integrated mission planning for peace support operations, disaster management, counter-terrorism, and counter-piracy, with emphasis on interoperability and collective readiness as central to regional stability. Chairing the conference, Chief of Training at the Defense Headquarters, Brigadier Paul Koech, commended participants for their commitment and noted that the developed concept provides a strong foundation for Exercise Ushirikiano Imara 2026, set to take place in May next year. The conference concluded with the signing of the concept development document by partner states representatives to signify collective commitment to advancing peace, security, and resilience in the region.
Crossing over to the Joint Command and Staff College in Karen, 55 participants from the Kenya Defence Forces graduated from the Junior Joint Command and Staff Course number 101 of 2025.
The graduation ceremony was presided over by Brigadier David Chesire, the Deputy Commandant and Chief Instructor, who was accompanied by the heads of departments. Brigadier Chesire commended the officers for their dedication during the 14-week course that sharpened their command and staff skills. He urged them to uphold character, intellect, and integrity in their roles and encouraged continued learning to meet the demands of leadership.
We take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.
In the battlefield of the mind, every move counts. This is more than a game. It's precision and strategy. The same principles that define the Kenya Defence Forces. On 29th August 2025, from 0900 hours, the Chief of Defence Forces chess tournament comes to Ulinzi Sports Complex, where the board becomes a training ground for strategy and leadership. It's a contest that sharpens strategic thinking, strengthens esprit de corps, and uncovers top chess talents in the Kenya Defence Forces. All officers and service members are invited to be part of this prestigious battle of minds. Units are requested to forward participants to respective service headquarters for registration. Chief of Defence Forces Chess Tournament. Every move counts.
Welcome back. Right Reverend Wallace Ng'ang'a, the Bishop of the Military Ordinariate of Kenya, led a pastoral visit to Our Lady of Assumption Church at Moi Air Base in Eastleigh, Nairobi County. The visit featured a mass wedding, confirmations, and the diocesan Jubilee Mass in honor of the Holy Year of Hope.
Bishop Ng'ang'a confirmed that 8 candidates solemnized the marriages of 8 couples and presided over the Jubilee Mass attended by hundreds of congregants. In his homily, the bishop urged the faithful to uphold family values and live as witnesses of hope, and called on the newly wedded couples to nurture their unions with forgiveness and commitment, while encouraging the youth to remain steadfast in faith and truth. The visit concluded with special prayers for families, the newly married, and the newly confirmed.
Kenya Defence Forces troops serving under the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia conducted a free medical camp at Yakabirta village in Kismayo. Take a look.
The exercise saw Kenya Defence Forces medical personnel from Kismayo Level 1 Hospital provide consultations and treatment to over 100 residents, including women, children, and the elderly. Residents welcomed the outreach, noting limited access to healthcare in the area. The event strengthened trust between Kenya Defence Forces troops and locals, reinforcing the African Union support and stabilization mission's mandate to protecting civilians, support Somali security forces, and foster stability through community support programs.
And in sports, the Commandant Defence Headquarters Camp Administrative Unit, Colonel Gideon Bebora, received trophies on behalf of the Kenya Defence Forces leadership in honor of the Ulinzi Swords netball team at the Defence Headquarters here in Nairobi County. The Ulinzi Swords won the Kenya Netball Federation tournament held in Mombasa in the month of July.
Team Manager Warrant Officer Class 1 Helen Juma said 8 players from the team will represent Kenya in the upcoming Commonwealth qualifiers in Zimbabwe. Colonel Bebora commended the athletes for their dedication, noting that the sport strengthened discipline and readiness in the military. Later at Ulinzi Hero Square, Colonel Bebora, who also chairs the Defence Forces Amateur Boxing Association, alongside Vice Chairman Colonel Paul Bundi Mngori, presented leading boxer Hezron Maganga Sabat with a fully equipped barbershop to support his post-sport livelihood. The event highlighted Kenya Defence Forces' commitment to sporting excellence and long-term welfare of its athletes.
In our feature story tonight, we feature Senior Sergeant Jacqueline Baraza, a celebrated volleyball player and coach who has become a true legend of the game. Her volleyball journey began as a middle blocker representing Kenya in global and continental tournaments, including the Federation Internationale de Volleyball World Championships, African Club Championship, African Games, and the Cup of Nations.
I'm Senior Sergeant Jacqueline Baraza. I was enlisted in the military back in 2003. My current unit, I'm in AIB, DHQ audit. I was recruited in the KDF team as a civilian, where I played up to 2001 and then joined Kenya Commercial Bank. I then joined national team. That is when I started participating in the national team, Malikia Strikers. As a player, I was playing as a middle blocker. When I retired from national assignment as a player, it's when I transited to coaching. That was in 2010, when I started coaching the KDF team, up to this year, when I was given the first assignment as a coach. I only coach our KDF team, and sometimes when I go home, maybe our local schools at home, I also assist them. Now, beating Cameroon, especially in their home country, was not easy for us. And this has really encouraged us as the under-20 junior Malkias. I've been motivating them that we are going to make a mark also when we go for the World Championship. I always learn from my mentors, my former coaches, who took us up to the World Cup in 2006, 2007, 2010, to All African Games. So most of the time, I was learning from them, and I have translated it to my coaching course. Being a military member, it really helped me, because mostly us in military, as you all know, when we are going for war, at times we psych ourselves by singing, dancing, and that is what I did while we were in Cameroon to the girls. I used to motivate them. We were dancing all together, singing to relieve ourselves, and that is what really helped us. The upcoming players, what I can encourage them is that nothing is impossible before God. When you put in effort, first of all, discipline, training, and effort, all is possible. And I also want to encourage them that nowadays sports is employment. I'm in military because of volleyball. So I always tell them to work hard in sports, but they must also balance with education.
Thank you for watching. We look forward to your feedback via our official social media platforms and your continued viewership next week on the Kenya Defence Forces Weekly Bulletin. I am Senior Private Jeff Mwangi. Goodbye.